Hi everyone, Dave here, and before we get to our episode this week, I'd like to tell you about our sponsor, Sudio. Sudio headphones, they're from Sweden. They make these nice, sleekly designed range of headphones. They sent me a pair called the Tray headphones, and they're designed for running or for gym use. I tried them in the gym on the treadmill. They were brilliant. They're sweat proof. They never once fell out, which is really annoying when that happens. You keep having to put your earphones back in when you're listening to a podcast or whatever, like this one. They fit perfectly. There's sound transparency, so if you're out for a run, you're still going to hear the traffic and everything. And we've got a discount for you. If you head to sudio.com and apply the code CINEMILE at checkout, you'll get 15%, and they already include free worldwide shipping. Highly recommend. On with the episode.
Hello and welcome to the Cinema, the podcast where me, Cathy, and my husband Dave walk to and from the cinema. But today I'm not with Dave, I'm with returning guest star Tessa.
Hi!
So Tessa has been on lots of reviews. She's been on Lion.
Yep.
She's been on both 50 Shades movies.
Correct.
We've been to see. And anything else?
No. I mean,
so
that's just enough.
It's enough. So this is your fourth appearance on the Cinema. And we're so excited because it's a really nice evening, so we're going to go for a drink now, get some tapas.
It's the start of a long weekend.
Yeah, sunny, and we are going to see I Feel Pretty, which is the new Amy Schumer starring movie. Tessa, what do you know about this movie?
Basically nothing except that Amy Schumer's in it.
Okay, that's the position I was in before I got on the train to meet you. And I mean, I'm a really big Amy Schumer fan. I'm a big fan of her comedy. I think her show is fantastic, really properly funny. And so this is her third starring movie. So the first one was Trainwreck, which I thought was a really surprisingly good movie.
And it's actually grown on me. So I've watched it a handful of times since seeing it at the cinema. And I think the first time I was a bit taken back by the crassness of it, and it's not necessarily my style of humour.
Yeah, she's very crass.
Once I kind of got over that, I've watched it a few more times and it gets funnier each time.
Oh, okay, I need to rewatch.
Yeah.
And then Dave and I actually saw Snatch last year and did a review on this podcast, and where we ended up arguing, albeit both kind of agreed it was a middle of the road movie.
Snatch was like the kidnap one with Goldie Hawn, right? Yeah.
So it was good, but there was issues with it, and so Trainwreck made a lot more money than Snatch, and now this is her third movie that she's starring in, I Feel Pretty, and this movie hasn't done very well either.
In my head, this is going to be more like Trainwreck than Snatch was, though, right?
Well,
I think Snatch falls into that spoofy kind of
Snatch
territory almost in my head, anyway.
And I think one of the reasons I was so favourable about Snatch in retrospect was because I'm a big Goldie Hawn fan. She was in it, and I love Amy Schumer, so I was forgiving them a lot. But this one, comes from the minds of two people who've actually written a lot of rom-coms, so Abby Cohn and Mark Silverstein. So they've written a lot of rom-coms, but this is their first their directorial debut.
Right.
So you'll know them from movies like He's Just Not That Into You, which isn't a movie I think is very good. Never Been Kissed, movie I really enjoy.
Great.
How to Be Single, a movie was better than I expected it to be.
Oh yeah, I liked that movie actually.
The Vow, have you seen that? I haven't.
No. That's a Nicholas Sparks novel, isn't it?
And Valentine's Day, which is universally
terrible.
Shit. So I've done up very high hopes for them, and so far this movie I know is not getting good reception. However, I haven't seen a trailer, and we know just the basic premise is it's a bit like that terrible movie Shallow Hal. But hopefully they do it better in this, which is that a woman, say your average, I use that in quotation marks, looking woman, Amy Schumer, because she's still a very attractive looking woman, thinks she's hideous, and then through something happening her gains self-confidence.
Freaky Friday moment. She wakes up with
newfound confidence, and then what I guess the message of the movie will hopefully explore how you can change your life based just on your confidence, not on the outside.
The largest bee I've ever seen.
Yeah, wow, that is spectacular. We see a lot of wildlife in Saints, we saw a fox here last time we came to see Avengers. Oh, and on a side note, at the end of this podcast we're going to do a brief Infinity War review by Tessa, because she's got some interesting thoughts on that movie. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Are you okay? You hit your head pretty hard.
Wait, that's me. Oh my god, do you see this?
Yes?
I'm beautiful!
Ow! Who's that sexy thing I see over there?
I know you don't recognize me.
That's me.
You guys, it's me. Renee.
What's happening?
Oh, full spin.
What can I get you?
Yeah, two tequila.
Right, we are just out of the cinema and we haven't spoken because we actually weren't sitting with each other.
I mean, we've spoken, but not about
not
the movie.
about the movie. And what's interesting is the cinema was completely sold out for this screening, which proves the point that we say again and again and again, which is that there's no movies for women. So when they release a movie that's like, you know, aimed at women and starring women, it sells out. Aside from the 100 screenings of Infinity War that were on there tonight. So we didn't get to sit next to each other, which is kind of weird in a comedy, because, a so-called comedy. The thing that when you're with a friend, it's nice to sit next to somebody and have a bit of a laugh.
The people I was next to definitely did not laugh at the same things that I laughed at,
really?
interestingly, yeah.
The people next to me did not laugh at all. So Tessa, what were your thoughts?
I feel like I didn't dislike it, but equally I wouldn't say I liked it.
Yeah, I have
It
pretty
wasn't
much
like
feel like that.
an unenjoyable couple of hours, but I just feel like there were parts where I actually did laugh out loud, but cohesively it was a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, I feel like
parts of it felt a bit like an SNL skit.
Yeah, I kept thinking this would make a really good skit in Amy Schumer's show,
which
is skits. Like,
yeah.
this would be amazing. But like, it's over 2 hours long, was it?
Yeah.
It
So started at 8. So yeah.
Started at 8 and it's now 10 to 10. So it was quite
Close
long. And like, it felt long.
It felt really long.
And I thought, like, briefly, I mean, we should go to spoiler street a little bit on this, but I mean, we don't have much, I don't think much to say. I mean, I think what this movie was trying to do was to say something about how society puts pressure on women to look a certain way, and, you know, women feel objectified and their confidence is knocked and they feel pressure to be beautiful. But then this movie was fat shaming and body shaming women and holding women who looked better than so-called looked better than other women up to a higher esteem. So I thought, well, actually this movie's doing everything that it's trying to be against. Yeah. And like repeatedly objectifying, and I know she's a willing participant, the star of the movie, and you know, it was her movie. But like, so Amy Schumer is like what I would consider quite a good looking woman who's in very good physical shape. Now, for this movie to be positing that she's grossly overweight, so much so that she sits on things and breaks them, when she's like, no, she's just not. So there's no way. Which was an
issue. I remember like fundamentally having that issue when I went to see Shallow Hal all those years ago. Like, that movie must be 15 years old now.
Yeah, at least.
And like, I didn't like it then, but equally would have hoped that, you know, 15 years later we would have definitely moved on from that. So I feel like it's a weird... Also, the other thing is that every other character, and even the main character to some extent, was a complete stereotype. Yeah. So like, that's not actually saying what you think it's saying, or like what they're trying to do. They just didn't really achieve.
Yeah, I just feel like I think they got that all so wrong, and it isn't at all what they were trying to go for.
But then they also didn't do the stereotype version of that story well either. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're going to do the stereotype, do it really well and make me feel warm and fuzzy at the end, because it's essentially a romantic comedy. Yeah. Which is my favourite genre. So like, I'm underwhelmed on both sides of that.
Yeah, and I would say, like, you know, we're pretty much rom-com experts. This duo, we know what's what. We've been to a lot of rom-coms together, and I guess
50 Shades of Grey being one of them.
Even though the com was not in the rom, but in this movie, actually, the kind of the bigger goal actually is her career, more than getting the man, which I quite liked, albeit getting the man as a side plot. I did like what it had to say. I mean, as someone who like really actually enjoys. This might sound silly, but it's true. I really like makeup, and I really like the cosmetics industry to an extent of like, I like trying products. Like, I find that fun, and I enjoy that side of the discussions around cosmetics. I thought that was, I mean, that sounds like a weird fact, but I just thought I enjoyed what they were saying about cosmetics. Other than that, right, it leans on so many other movies. Like, this movie is completely derivative. So not only does it mirror to an extent the plot of Big, they even have the character watching Big. Like, come on, right? So she's watching Big, Very much like What Women Want, the Mel Gibson movie.
Yeah, very much like that.
Okay, Shades of Devil Wears Prada, obviously, you know, that's kind of referenced in the whole industry thing. Albeit, Michelle Williams is kind of the... I guess Michelle Williams is kind of the Meryl Streep character, but Michelle Williams is actually quite nice in this, and I enjoyed her performance.
Yeah.
And then what it really is
but
like...
then in that, to that, they don't really need the character of the grandma as well. Like, I just felt like that was a bit of a double up of that character.
And then the good looking, so that basically it's a beauty line that's owned by a grandmother and her fabulously beautiful grandkids, Michelle Williams, and then a guy who's like quite cute. And then also, right, spoilers for 13 going on 30, but the last 20 minutes of this is literally the last, like, scene by scene 20 minutes of 13 going on 30, which we'll get into in a minute. And there's very briefly great cast. Busy Phillips, did you know, I found out in my random trivia, is married to the male scriptwriter, which explains her presence. Also, she's best friends with Michelle Williams, so that was fun.
I think that probably explains why Michelle Williams is in it.
Yeah,
because I think that's a really strange thing for her to have done.
That's what I thought, because she does very intense movies.
Yeah, and it is a caricature.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I enjoyed her voice. And then just mainly not enough laughs for me in what it should have been a really funny movie. It wasn't really.
Yeah, and the laughs that I had were definitely like quite incidental. You know, they weren't the things that I think you were meant to be laughing at.
Yeah, the bits I laughed were the bits of Amy Schumer doing her like, she's funny, and when she was doing her funny bits, I laughed at them.
Yeah,
like but that's nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah, I still feel like she was definitely that, skitty kind of. I don't think that movie does her any favours, put it that way.
No, I think at this point her career may be heading into a bit of a train wreck. It's been snatched away from her.
Yeah, whereas I feel like, I guess Trainwreck, obviously she wrote and is semi-autobiographical.
Yeah.
So she was probably just being herself.
I think she's a stronger writer. I think she's made the mistake of being in these movies that are written by people who actually aren't as good a writer as she is.
Yeah.
Which is a big mistake. And then apparently she's writing a movie with Jennifer Lawrence. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see that. And like, in terms of this movie, I mean, I would still recommend it in the sense that, like, as I said, you know, there's never any movies for women really, and like, it was packed full of women, the cinema, which I always enjoy.
And like, I do remember us saying this about 50 Shades as well. Like, it's nice to be in a cinema that has that kind of energy about it. It makes you realise actually how rare that is.
I know, and I was so disappointed. And like, not only did we not get to sit next to each other, but we really stupidly bought shared snacks in advance in like Poundland. And we got to the cinema, and at the same moment we turned to each other and gasped and went, oh my god, we're not sitting next to each other. So we had to divvy up the snacks in advance. Yeah, it was pretty hardcore.
I don't think I got the separation quite right.
No, I ended up with way more Skittles than I wanted. Does that mean you ended up with more chocolate than you wanted?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can safely go to spoiler street whilst half-heartedly recommending the the movie.
Yeah.
Not anything.
I think, it's fine.
Probably watch it on DVD.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't rush out to see it.
And Amy, get back on it and write your own movies.
Yeah.
I
think it's got nothing.
It's got nothing. Okay, we are now in Spoiler Street on the way to Staines train station. And literally, I swear, before the end happened, if you'd been next to me, would have turned and said this to you. Oh, the end's just going to be 13 on 30 then. 13 going on 30.
I don't really remember the ending of that movie.
Okay, so spoilers for 13 going on 30 if you care, which actually is a much better movie than this.
I know you really like that movie. It's definitely not one of my favourites.
Oh, really? I love it.
Yeah.
Stars Mark Ruffalo, love him. Jennifer Garner, love her, and it's amazing. Anyway, the end of 13 going on 30, which may be called something like Almost 30 in the States.
Yeah. It's called Almost 30 in Australia.
Oh, right, okay. The end of that, right, is like Jennifer Garner's like this high-flying magazine executive, and then she realizes what really matters is friends, and she like pitches the worst magazine pitch you've ever seen, which is like just loads and loads of photographs of different friends all laughing and having fun together. And as the end of this movie rolled on and they're trying to cast the perfect model for this cosmetics line, I went, oh dear god, it's going to be Amy Schumer and her friends. And then she just goes in, storms a presentation that she's not invited to, and like shows pictures of her mates, and then she gets a standing ovation. Like, that would never.
It's like a proper media event. Like, that wouldn't happen. Like,
on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, like, everyone would be like, but wait, what's the product?
Yeah, what are you doing?
I don't understand.
Also, so she works on Fifth Avenue, and we're led to believe, like, lives in New York. And then, who somehow is on like a receptionist salary, which she says is a pay cut, and yet lives in this fabulously big apartment, which always pisses me off.
I mean, it's the Friends situation all over again, isn't it?
And what did you think about, like, in terms of kind of just getting nitpicky on plots, like bits of it, I kind of thought we're taking the piss out of people who wanted to be receptionists as well, like a bit dismissive of that profession.
Which I think, definitely very dismissive of that. But I think it loses credibility straight away when she works for, like, a very significant company, it seems, in their
kind of the equivalent of
web department,
YSL or something. Yeah.
But then works in, like, not in their headquarter office.
Oh yeah, with like a sellotaped handwritten sign on the door.
Like it just, that doesn't make any sense. And from that point on, I think it loses its credibility.
Yeah, like it ain't no Devil Wears Prada either in terms of, you know, realism of that movie.
No.
I
don't know, I was kind of confused about lots of different things.
I was confused too, and I just, the whole time I was watching it, I was thinking, but this should be better. Like this, because I had read on the way out here on the train that it had something like a $30 million budget. You know, that's a lot of money. Like, you can get your props right.
I mean, they clearly spent a lot of that money doing sweeping shots of New York.
I know,
just
New York
because we've obviously never seen New York in movies before.
Yeah, just buy some stock shots of that.
It was weird. There are a couple of times where it cut from shots I wanted to see to, like, a landscape shot of New York.
Yeah, it was weird.
So when there was the whole setup of going into that speakeasy club.
Yeah.
And then when she got in, you didn't even see it.
You never saw it.
I was like, I want to see it.
What did you think about the boyfriend character? I enjoyed him.
Yeah, I liked him.
Yeah,
he was probably
he was the standout.
The most genuine, I think.
He was the standout in a movie where Amy Schumer should have been the standout because it's her bloody movie.
I feel like they really underutilized Emily Ratajkowski, or how you say her name as well. I felt like that character was going to be much more significant than it was.
Which one is
like
she?
The hot girl at Soul Cycle.
Oh, right. I didn't recognise her.
I felt like that was going to go somewhere and it just didn't. And I don't know if that's because she's a model and maybe doesn't have the acting chops she needed for that.
Oh, so she's a model in real life?
Yeah.
Because, so her character, Amy Schumer, I find really dismissive of her because she was good looking.
Yeah.
So Amy Schumer's going, oh, you were dumped, now I feel better about myself, which is like the most selfish reaction you could have to that scenario.
Yeah.
She was a really deeply unlikable character, Amy Schumer, in terms of how she treated her friends, how she treated her boyfriend when she thought she looked a certain way.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. And like, they didn't even make the parallels quite right, because okay, she gains all this confidence and thinks she's really hot, and then she starts being mean to her friends, but then she's still really nice to her boyfriend. But then she starts like putting her friends down. But then when she's in the room with the hot guy, she's back to being really unconfident again. So they didn't follow any of it through, actually.
No.
I just thought like it was really inconsistent, and I'm so annoyed. The more we talk about it, actually, the more annoyed with the movie I am.
I mean, that character wasn't likeable at all. The only thing I liked is that it was Amy Schumer. You know what I mean? If it wasn't her, I think we'd have a completely different review.
Do you think it was written for her?
Probably.
I think so too, because I can't picture anyone else doing it. Now, to be fair, I think Amy Schumer is still too good looking and has too good a body to make for the part to make any sense for her.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I mean, people would have said that also about Gwyneth Paltrow and
yeah.
I guess.
But I think just ultimately, I think it's a shame, because to have like, you know, a relatively big budget, big release movie, to be genuinely discussing things like, you know, the societal pressure on women to look a certain way and to weigh a certain way, and then to just blow it and in the end be like, oh, you know, it's fine and we're all happy and we're all beautiful. It's like, but actually you haven't addressed any of the issues, which is there is a genuine privilege for women who look a certain way.
Yeah.
And this movie, at the end of the day, is just kind of like backing that privilege up. Like, at the end of the day, Amy Schumer, you know, gets what she wants, and she's a good-looking blonde woman.
They don't particularly satisfy the entertainment part of that either, you know.
Yeah, like, and if you're going to do it, like,
ideally
just go all out and
both.
be fun. Like,
ideally do both, but at least do one or the other.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like they did either.
Yes, when you compare it to any of those other movies we referenced, including What Women Want with Mel Gibson, as much as he's disgusting, they're all better than it.
Yeah, 100%.
Shame. They were kind of playing in a field that should work, kind of body swap, Freaky Friday. There's a lot of stuff going on, and none of it worked.
Love Freaky Friday.
Yeah, even the Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. Well, Tessa, thank you for coming on again.
Thanks for having
me. Awesome. Next time, hopefully, we can sit together.
Yeah.
And since you were on last, have you followed us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram? Because I remember you saying
Instagram,
you hadn't.
I don't have Twitter.
You haven't got Twitter. Have you subscribed to us on iTunes?
No.
Okay.
I never
you
do
can
it on my
subscribe.
computer.
You can subscribe on iTunes right now, Tessa.
I honestly can't tell you the last time I went onto iTunes on my computer.
You can do it on your phone.
Oh, I thought you couldn't.
No, so you search for the cinema. We didn't plan this. You search for the cinema. You don't go into your list of things you've subscribed to. You search for it, and then you hit 5 stars.
Oh.
And then you write a review.
You definitely told me explicitly once I had to do it on my computer.
Okay, I lied. I was wrong.
That was probably about 2 years ago.
Thank you for coming, and hopefully next time we can see a good movie together.
Yeah.
Lion was good. That was a long time ago.
I mean, that was now 18 months ago, I think.
All right, okay, bye.
Bye.
Are you shopping for a gift?
Kind of browsing for me.
So sizing is a little limited here in the store, but you could probably find your size online.
Hi, Tessa again, without Cathy. We realised that I didn't get to propose my theory of similarities between the Avengers Infinity War and the 7th and 8th Harry Potter movies. So I thought I'd drop back in and give you my thoughts on that. So I think Cathy's already spoken about one in particular, which is obviously the storyline that Thanos is collecting these 6 Infinity Stones, and the 6th one is in Vision's head. That's exactly the storyline of the 7th Harry Potter book or the 7th and 8th movie. So I won't go into that in too much detail, but obviously, yeah, Voldemort's collecting the Horcruxes to get all the bits of his soul back together. The thing that I found really interesting is both Harry Potter and Vision have that moment where they realise that actually they're going to have to die to service the greater good. So yeah, that was really interesting. But then secondarily to that, so that's obviously the overarching story, but I thought there were so many visual similarities between Harry Potter and I went to say Captain America then, and Avengers. So particularly when I was in the cinema, I was like, I have 100% seen this scene before, when the shield is broken in Wakanda, so the like protective shield that Black Panther decides to break, that completely exists over the top of Hogwarts in Harry Potter. And in the great battle scene in the last Harry Potter movie, the Death Eaters are all on the outside of that barrier and like shooting spells at it to break it. So they break it and push through. Obviously in Wakanda, it is purposely broken by Black Panther so that they can control the monsters coming in. But just like visually, that was a very, very similar scene, which, considering that one was like in the dark of night and one was in this like glorious desert plain setting. But yeah, the overarching, excuse the pun, the overarching visual was very, very similar. And then there were also quite a few characters that I was like, this character exists in the same kind of context in Harry Potter. So one other thing I noticed is it Nebula, who is Zoe Saldana's character's sister in Avengers? The way she's like suspended and being tortured, that kind of exists in Harry Potter as well, where there's a character who's a teacher at Hogwarts who is, I think she teaches Muggle studies, and for that reason the Death Eaters take a disliking to her, and she's like suspended above this big like banquet table that they're all sat around, and they're like torturing her in that process. So that was visually really, really similar. And then I also thought the character, and I don't know her name, but the character who was like Thanos' female offsider, she really reminded me of the character in Harry Potter. This might be getting a bit technical, but there's a character in Harry Potter whose name I don't know, but is referred to as a snatcher, who like goes around finding half-blood wizards and witches, and is sort of the first person to like break through the barrier in that, going back to that great battle scene. And I just thought that was really in parallel with the way that female character kind of busts through the barrier in Avengers. I also thought the other scene, which I was like, I've seen this scene before, was when in Avengers, Elizabeth Olsen's character, Scarlet Witch, is confronted, and Scarlett Johansson and the female warrior from Black Panther kind of come to her defence. That really reminded me of Molly Weasley when she then kills Bellatrix Lestrange. I thought that was really, really similar. I kind of thought to some extent that the Guardians reminded me a little bit of like the way the Order of the Phoenix come into Hogwarts for that final battle. So yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell. And then obviously that overarching theme. But I think the most important thing to say is I still really enjoyed Avengers. It was much better than I thought it was going to be. I think they did a really, really good job of a big ensemble movie. So yeah, I really liked it. It's definitely worth seeing, but I definitely think it's very, very similar to the overarching story in Harry Potter. I think it bodes well for Harry Potter that that movie is now like quite a few years old and is still, you know, definitely stands up in a visual sense to, you know, one of the most successful movies ever made. So yeah, thanks for having me again. Bye.